if you stand back and you just look at any of the videos coming out of Texas over the past couple of days, we just see just literally lines of thousands of people coming across, then you start to realize why this law is not going to work.
Sure.
And that Texas, any jurisdiction in Texas, the Eagle Pass, the state troopers, no one has the resources to arrest all these people, prosecute all these people. Judges would then have to render them guilty, not guilty. A jail would have to hold them for this whole time. The logistics simply aren't there to use this law to stop this problem. And so, I understand what they're trying to do, but it's just not a solution.
Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk to the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering and where the story's going next. I'm Jim Antle, and I'm joined today by commentary editor Conn Carroll. Conn, there's been a lot of talk as part of the border crisis of what Texas has been doing to try to deal with the inflow of migrants. You've written a piece arguing that the latest Texas law is unlikely to work. Why?
Yeah, so first let me say Texas Governor Abbott is in a tough spot. He's got literally tens of thousands of migrants coming into his state every day. It's just a flow that is flooding communities, not just on the border, but throughout the state. And what is he going to do about it? So they passed this new law that criminalizes, under state law, crossing of the Texas-Mexico border. Okay. Now, it would make it a Class B misdemeanor, which would be subject to a 6-month year sentence, which, may sound bad. That does sound like a deterrent, right? I don't want to go to jail for 6 months.
Right.
But I think if you stand back and you just look at any of the videos coming out of Texas over the past couple of days, we just see just literally lines of thousands of people coming across, then you start to realize why this law is not going to work.
Sure.
And that Texas, any jurisdiction in Texas, the Eagle Pass, the state troopers, no one has the resources to arrest all these people, prosecute all these people. Judges would then have to render them guilty, not guilty. A jail would have to hold them for this whole time. The logistics simply aren't there to use this law to stop this problem. And so, I understand what they're trying to do, but it's just not a solution.
So when we talk about the border crisis, usually we're talking about the security implications, the crime implications, the sort of amenities and the strain on public resources it puts in different communities. But there are obviously bigger issues at play when you have uncontrolled immigration. And you've discussed a recent poll that sort of highlights what some of these problems could be.
Yeah, so Harvard-Harris poll has been mostly asking the same questions on immigration every year. Usually in November, and it comes out in December. So it's interesting to compare them the past two years and see how they've grown. But it's actually remarkable, similar findings on how people scale up the problem of illegal immigration, how big they think it is. So when you look at people that say it's a serious problem, that has grown immensely. So last December, you only had about 45% of people, so not quite a majority, saying it was a very serious problem. You saw another 30% that said it was a somewhat serious problem, but that very serious problem has jumped up to like 52%. So now a majority of the country sees this as a very serious problem. But even for those people that say it's a very serious problem, they really, really underestimate the crisis. So the Harvard-Harris poll in both years then asked people, how many illegal immigrants do you think were arrested coming into the border this year? Okay, and they gave 0 to 100,000, 100,000 to 500,000, 500,000 to a million, million to 2 million, 2 million to 3 million. So they gave them a bunch of options. The vast majority of people, like 75% of Americans, thought it was less than 1 million illegal immigrants have been arrested trying to come into the country this year. The real number is 3.2 million. And only 8% of Americans were able to correctly identify that. And so then when the Harvard-Harris poll gave that actual number, the real number to people, and asked them whether or not we needed to change policies drastically from what Biden's doing now or continue as Biden's doing, then support for drastically changing shot up to 75%. So even though just when you ask people regularly before you prompt them with facts, how big of a problem is in it, a majority think it's a problem. Once you give them the facts, it skyrockets.
So what might the 2024 implications of this be? Because, we definitely saw President Biden had some of the lowest approval ratings of any issue on the border and immigration, yet the impact it had on the midterm elections was probably marginal at best. Could this become a bigger issue in the presidential race?
It could. I think when you look back at 2022, I think that was definitely overtaken by abortion.
Sure.
I think when you look at the states where Biden did the worst, it was where abortion was not on the ballot, or abortion was a settled issue. Where you looked at states where you had it front and center of the campaign, like Pennsylvania, et cetera, it was, or Virginia, Democrats did very well. So, as we get further and further away from Roe, we'll see whether or not Democrats are able to make abortion the issue for every campaign. But if not, it could be immigration. But you never know. I mean, I'm always very skeptical that there's going to be a deal on immigration. But it does really seem like the White House wants a deal that might actually reduce many of the policies that are creating the border crisis. So we'll see.
Thank you, Conn.
Yep.
You can read Conn and the rest of our commentary team's coverage at washingtonexaminer.com.